Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're currently preparing for the IELTS exam, you might be staring down a massive mountain of study materials and feeling, well, just a little bit overwhelmed. Or maybe even totally panicked. But I want you to take a deep breath with me right now because today we're completely changing our perspective. The IELTS is not some insurmountable wall designed to trick you. Think of it more like a strategic game. And like any game, it has a very specific set of rules. Once you know those rules, you can totally master the game. So let's dive into this ultimate playbook, decode the entire structure of the exam, and give you the exact clarity you need to walk into test day with absolute confidence. All right, so here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the IELTS big picture, then mastering listening and reading, tackling the writing tasks, the speaking interview, and finally decoding your band score. Let's get right into it. Section 1, the IELTS big picture. Okay, before we get into the weeds of specific question types or essay formats, the absolute most important number you need to keep in mind today is 4. Why? Well, every single candidate taking this test is evaluated on 4 core modules. These represent the fundamental language skills used to accurately measure your overall English proficiency. You literally have to prove your competence across the board. You can't just be an amazing speaker and ignore the rest. And you're going to be facing some pretty strict time limits for each of these modules. We're talking 30 minutes for listening, a full 60 minutes for reading, another 60 for writing, and a really quick, but trust me, intense, 11 to 14 minutes for speaking. Keeping this brisk pace in mind is absolutely crucial because time management is literally half the battle here. You're going to feel this exact urgency on test day, so visualizing these blocks of time right now is incredibly helpful. Moving right along to Section 2, Mastering Listening and Reading. So, these two are your input skills. Your main job here is to process incoming information accurately and efficiently under some serious time pressure. Let's break down listening first. You've got 4 sections with 40 questions total and 30 minutes to get it done. But here's the most brutal rule of the whole game. The audio plays once, just once. Miss a detail? No way to rewind. But thankfully, the test does give you a little grace period. You get 10 extra minutes at the very end to transfer and check your answers. Oh, and a quick word to the wise, you earn 1 point for each correct answer, but you lose that point if you make a spelling or grammar mistake. Yeah, really, accuracy is everything. And notice how the complexity kind of sneaks up on you. The test doesn't just throw you into the deep end right away. Sections 1 and 2 are just everyday social situations, usually 2 people chatting, maybe followed by a monologue. But then, bam, sections 3 and 4 shift into educational or training stuff. This is where it gets dense, you know? You might hear up to 4 people talking at once before a final heavy academic monologue. So you definitely have to be ready for that cognitive load to ramp up as you go. Now, here is a major trap a lot of candidates fall into. You remember those 10 glorious extra minutes you get in listening to transfer your answers? Forget about them for reading. Seriously, there is absolutely 0 extra time allowed to transfer your answers at the end of the reading module. You have to write them down on your answer sheet as you go during that 60-minute window. If you wait until the end, you're going to run out of time. Speaking of reading, you have 60 minutes to tackle 3 passages. Task 1 is generally considered pretty easy. Task 2 is average, but Task 3, yeah, that one is a genuine sweat-inducing marathon. Actually, depending on your specific paper, you might even see a Task 4. You really have to pace yourself early on so you have the mental stamina and the time for that final difficult stretch. All right, on to Section 3, tackling the writing tasks. Now we're shifting gears from input to active production. Looking at Task 1, your exam experience actually splits right here, depending on your track. Academic candidates, your job is to report data from a graph or an image. General training folks, you'll be writing a formal or informal letter. But despite those totally different outputs, the golden rule remains exactly the same for both. You should absolutely cut yourself off at about 20 minutes for this first task. Because if you cap Task 1 at 20 minutes, that leaves you with a solid 40 minutes for Task 2, which is the heavily weighted portion of the writing exam. So that naturally leads us to ask, what exactly are the examiners looking for to give you top marks on this crucial essay? Well, first off, you must write at least 250 words. But come on, it's not just about hitting a word count. You're doing some heavy intellectual lifting here. You have to provide factual info, outline problems, present logical solutions, and really evaluate ideas. It's all about putting clear, critical thought onto the page. And how do they score all that brilliant thought? They use a rubric based on 4 specific pillars.
1. Content. Did you actually answer the prompt? 2. Coherence. Does your essay flow logically from one idea to the next? 3. Vocabulary. Are you using a great varied mix of words? And 4. Grammar. Are your sentences accurate and complex? To score well, you can't just have perfect grammar but say nothing of value, right? You absolutely have to balance all 4 of these pillars.
Next up, Section 4, the speaking interview.
I know. This is the part everyone dreads. It's live, it's face-to-face, it's a high-pressure output skill. But look, despite all that pressure, it actually follows a very predictable structure across those 14 minutes. It ramps up systematically. Part 1 is just a 4 to 5 minute warm-up about familiar topics, your home, your family, your job. Part 2 is the individual long turn. The examiner hands you a topic card, you get exactly 1 minute to prep, and then you have to speak non-stop for 1 to 2 minutes. Finally, Part 3 is a 4 to 5 minute two-way discussion, usually diving deeper into whatever abstract themes you just talked about in Part 2.
If your heart is racing just thinking about it, take a breath. The grading pillars for speaking are remarkably similar to writing. Examiners are still checking your vocabulary and grammar. The only real difference? Instead of content and coherence on a piece of paper, they're looking for fluency, can you speak smoothly without long, unnatural pauses, and pronunciation, how clear and understandable your English actually is. That's the whole shebang. And finally, Section 5, decoding your band score. So, how do all those correct answers from the input modules actually translate into that magical band score? Well, for listening, out of 40 total questions, you need 30 to 31 correct to get a solid 7.0. Aiming for an 8.0, you'll need 35 to 36. And for that elusive perfect 9.0, you had to hit 39 to 40. And remember what we said earlier? A single spelling mistake costs you a full point. Misspell Wednesday, and you might just drop from an 8.0 to a 7.5. No joke.
Now, reading is a bit different because the scores change based on your specific track. Check this out. For a target band 7.0, an academic candidate needs 30 to 32 correct answers. But a general training candidate, you actually have to get 34 to 35 correct to get that exact same 7.0. Why? Because the general training texts are generally considered a bit more accessible, so the test compensates by requiring a higher raw score. It's totally a strategic reality you have to be ready for.
All right, we've unpacked the structure, the tight timings, the scoring rules. The mystery is officially gone. So I'll leave you with this. Now that you hold the ultimate playbook, what is the very first rule you're going to use to change your study game today? Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and go conquer that exam.